think as an industry we need to look at then how do we achieve it. As I said, the struggle now for consumers is with fuel prices so low, it's very difficult for them to make the best decision as opposed to the most financially optimal decision. Prices run counter in a lot of cases to what the industry is trying to achieve in terms of fuel economy and reduced greenhouse gas. So I think that review has to look at that and say, okay, so how do we work cooperatively with automakers to achieve a reduced dependence use of gasoline?
What might some of those tools look like?
Well, I don't know. I think,
in your opinion,
frankly, we're open. I think it could be incentive tax. It could be a whole range of different things. And we're not recommending one over the other, but I think that to the automakers, but also to accomplishing the government's goals of reduced fuel consumption and reduced greenhouse gas emissions.
Right. So you're launching the Clarity later this year.
Yes.
What does the infrastructure look like in California? I think there's only about a dozen or so public filling stations that are open.
Expanding, a lot of promise. Yeah, there's 5. There's supposed to be 12 open by year end, and they're targeting 100 in the next couple of years. So it's definitely ramping up. It has been a slow ramp up versus the launch of the first Clarity, but frankly, it's accelerating at a pretty good pace. We've also invested $14 million to help expand that. Those 12 stations that I referenced there are part of that 100 that we're expanding to. So, it's kind of, we're building the bridge one plank at a time while we're walking on it.
I mean, has that tempered your expectations for actual deliveries of these vehicles?
No, we've always said that we'll continue to roll these vehicles out as the infrastructure and where the infrastructure exists. We'll never put them out where a customer can't get fuel or can't accommodate what we're trying to do with hydrogen, but we're very pleased with what California is committed to expand that. We hope other states will come along.
John, in the short to medium term, are you going to be able to meet the ZEV mandate strictly with fuel cell vehicles?
Our business plan is to meet the ZEV mandates with a mix of different. We talked here about this platform actually, and I'll permit me if you will. This is an electric vehicle, okay? And so with that, then it's where do you get the electricity? So the fuel cell stack allows us to generate electricity on board. But this same platform could be a plug-in vehicle. It can also, with different battery configurations. So this basic platform serves as the foundation for the vehicles I talked about that we'll continue to roll out. So we're not going to say we're going to get there with just Clarity. It'll be a mix across the board, a mix of vehicles. Some traditional internal combustion, low displacement, small displacement, turbo, fuel cell, battery electric, plug-in, a whole range of different things. So it's not just, we said probably 20% of our fleet will be hybrid by 2020.
Are you thinking about offering higher capacity batteries for your cars that you've already sold?
Don't have any plans to announce that today.
What about renewable hydrogen? You had mentioned that. How much work are you doing on making?
So we're doing a lot of research in terms of, so that's all in the mix of
Are you putting money into it, or are you just letting other people do it and supporting the
research? Fundamentally costs money.
Yeah.
John, have you said when you're going to bring out another more full battery electric vehicles?
Yeah, so by 2018.
But have you said how many more vehicles or what vehicles?
Probably a different press show.
And how much more do you see the mix this year moving away from cars to SUVs? I mean, how much
more than where it is now?
Yeah.
This is my numbers, but historically, cars still maintain about an 8 million, 7.5 million level, right? Even in their best or worst times. We think that, we've seen it run 60% trucks, 40% cars. We're at whatever it was in December, 58, 42.
Right.
I don't see it dropping to 25%. There's still good business to be had in the sedan markets. I don't think we'll go to an all-truck society, but a lot of vehicles start to blur the line. You look at HRV, and so I think in addition, how we define it versus how the customer defines it in terms of use changes a little bit. So.
Are you having dealers put charging units in their dealership?
Some dealers have charging units and are promoting that as they go forward. But again, to put charging units in for a manufacturer that doesn't have vehicles yet, so I think we expect that to expand as hydrogen, but that will be part of our push as well.
So what's changed between the last time you tried to lease the Clarity and now? Why are you optimistic that you might have more success?
Range, package. I'd encourage you to really get involved with this car after we finish here. Spend a few minutes, look at it inside. When you look at the interior package, even versus the last one, which was class leading, there's no intrusion at all in any of the interior package. Everything, it's much more usable car. Driving dynamics, power, everything is improved. So, again, we're working to build the infrastructure to make sure that the vehicle's successful.
John, you guys have had a significantly higher recall completion rate at Takata than all your competitors. Are there any lessons the industry can learn? I mean, the NHTSA is rolling out a push to get more recall completion.
I don't know that it's lessons. I think part of that stems actually to our philosophy about the customer. And protecting customers, whether it's in the sale of a car, the repair of a car, or the follow-up on a vehicle. It's why we don't do fleet business. Jeff Bohanka talked about it. We don't do it because there's some, stigma about fleet. It's because when those cars come secondarily into the market, they compete used for the car you bought new, one at a time with your own money, and it depreciates the value of the car. We just won't do that to customers. It's why we don't have employee purchase programs, frankly, that discount the car more to our own associates than to the consumer. All the cars are out there. We think we build the best, the finest product out there, and we want our associates to think that too. So we build into our kind of psyche this intense focus on the customer. And the simple question we ask is, if you have a recall and it was your car, what would you want? You'd want it fixed, and I'd want to be found. Now, we talked about the second 50% being tougher. Customers are recall weary, we're finding out, right? Because the industry recalls everything from tail light bulbs to airbags. And so I put it in the stack of recalls with my two cars, and I can't differentiate one from the other, and I'll get to that or anything else. Some are very skeptical or cynical about, well, this is just like a timeshare visit, free vacation, but you got to get additional service done.
Right.
And it's not the case. So we're working to overcome those things, but it's very, very difficult.
Do you think it would be easier if DMV just wouldn't register the car till it's been
That's
fixed?
what we propose, frankly, that says if you tie their database on open recalls, a lot of this is done in Europe and Japan as well, that you say, to register your car, you have 5 open recalls. Give us proof that those are done. Now, it doesn't have to be for taillight bulbs, but for safety, some classification of recalls that involve consumer or passenger safety. Frankly, we think that that's a great idea because it serves as yet another gateway. It says if the car's not registered on the road, it's likely not being driven. Probably not a chance, there's less chance that it's going to be involved. But if you're going to register it, it's got to have the recall done.
How does the price of this car, estimated price, which roughly matches the Mirai and the Tucson fuel cell, show Honda's intense focus on the customer? It's about the same as any other vehicle with the hydrogen powertrain, even though the vehicles themselves are very different.
Right. So we think capacity, we think the value of the car, driving range, fueling time, and everything else, we think we have a better product.
For the same price.
So I just want to show you the actual car that he's talking about. This will be the Clarity fuel cell. If you want to lease it, it's $500 a month. All right, off to the next one. Keep following us.